Hey guys, how's everyone doing? This is Nick from ForexNoobs.com with the daily analysis. Today is Thursday, the 11th of July, 2019, and the time is 10 a.m. here in the UK. You're looking at Euro AUD daily chart, but we're going to jump up to GBP AUD to kick things off. So let's get started with the analysis. Hello, Catherine. Actually, we're going to switch to the calendar to kick things off. I think that's a better way to do it. Where am I? Oh, there they are. Okay. So what do we have coming up today? We have BOE Governor Carney speaking. Important. Can move the market. Of course it can. Whenever there's a speech, it's important. Yesterday's speech drove price up on Euro USD like crazy when Fed Chairman Powell testified. That was a big move. Great for me. Because for those of you who were in yesterday's webinar, we entered a trade. Well, I entered a trade. I don't know who in the webinar entered also. But there was a trade entered live, and it's already hit target in under 24 hours, which is crazy good for a daily chart trade. But anyway, we'll take a look at that trade shortly. So yeah, speeches can influence the market, of course. They're the scariest thing, really, because they'll just cause random spikes. So I do tend to trade through speeches, to be honest, but I am very wary when I'm doing so. We have the core CPI and the normal CPI from the US, so that's something to watch out for. And then we had Fed Chairman Powell testifying again. He testifies a lot, apparently. So he testified yesterday. And then he's testifying again today. Right. So do watch out around those times. I'm going to. I'm just going to trade straight through this, guys. I'm going to ignore it essentially. Well, not ignore it. I'm going to trade with care around it, but I'm not going to get out of trades for it, or I'm not going to avoid trades for it. I'm just trying this new thing where I ignore news, because in my back testing, this is a point brought up by Viet, who's I'm sure you guys know him, is one of the more popular members on the forum. He's always said, and I kind of ignored it for a long time, that when you backtest your strategy, you ignore news, because you can't really, it's too tedious to go back to 2016, figure out what news came out at what time, and then avoid trading news when you're backtesting. You know, that's a crazy level of in-depth work that you have to do in order to backtest your strategy to that level. So when you backtest, or when I backtest anyway, I don't know how in depth you guys go, I just ignore news completely and things work out. So if all of a sudden I start in my forward testing, I start avoiding trades because of upcoming news, I'm changing factors from what worked in backtesting. And when you start changing factors from what worked in backtesting, you know, you're going to see different results straight away. So I've just started to, like, you guys might have noticed over the years, I've started to care about news less and less, but I've always maintained speeches, watch out for. But now even speeches, I'm just saying, screw it. Let's just pretend the news doesn't happen. Take extra precautions. You know, you risk less. Make your position size slightly smaller. Do whatever you need to do to take precautions, but don't avoid trades, is what I'm doing now. You guys do what you want. That's what I'm starting to do now. I'm more open to just ignoring news. So I'm just going to trade straight through this, is what I'm trying to say, guys. The short version is I'm just going to trade straight through it. Righto, so GBP AUD, what's going on with GBP AUD? Going up, but not by much. So I think some people are long in this. They were long from the 4th of July. It's not moving that well, is it? I think most of you probably closed this one out. To those of you who didn't and had a target at 1 to 2, which is a crazy target on a pair that's trending down this heavily. 1 to 2 is a crazy target, but if you had your 1.5 target, that's been hit. If you had 1 to 2, it's just been missed. So yeah, just hold on to it, I guess. I mean, I'm not in the trade, so it's hard for me to give advice on the trade. New Zealand JPY. This is another one that's just been moving sideways, hasn't it? A bunch of you got in short on this one. It got very close to target, but it just missed that target and has now been moving sideways. There comes a certain point where you just have to call the trade when it's just not going in your direction. And that's usually... wait, let me... I have way too many browser tabs open. So I usually use this site. Why do I keep getting this? So annoying. I usually use this site to just see what the swap is for, if I'm trading, if I'm talking about my own trades, then I'll use my own broker's site to look at the swap rate. But if we're talking about it in the webinar, I'll just use this site because it gives kind of an idea across a lot of different brokers. So for a long trade on New Zealand JPY, you'll be earning positive swap. For a short trade, you're losing. You're paying interest, basically. You're paying interest. So you're paying interest to be in this trade. You're losing money just for being in the trade. It's costing you. And it's not really doing what you want it to do. So at a certain point, you've got to call it. I would say call this one, exit with some profit. That would be how I handle this one. So calling it. That one's gone. Euro AUD. Euro AUD was a long shared on the forum by Viet. It was going really well until yesterday's news turned it around. The game plan right now on the forum from the discussion we've had is to just wait for today's daily candle to close and reassess at the end of today. Some people have bailed on the trade already. I think that was a bit early to call it. I mean, it just got turned around by news a little bit. That happens. Generally speaking, when things are turned around by news, they tend to retrace. So I would just suggest leaving this open. Sure, it could run down and get below your entry. But, you know, that's just the reality of trading, guys. You can't just call trades whenever they turn around against you for a tiny little bit. This one's still in profit. I think getting out right now is just it's just fear. It's just fear talking or fearful thinking. And when you let fear dictate your trades, you're not going to be successful, or you'll be less successful than you could be. So don't let fear dictate your trading decisions. I would stay in it until the end of the day. EURUSD. EURUSD, this one was, wait, I'm going to get my actual entry numbers. Because this isn't accurate, this thing here. Just copy and paste them over. Stop. And target. Right, so this was my entry, stop, and target. As you can see, it just got hit. I don't know what's happening with all these just missed or just hits, but this one just got hit. entered this one live on the webinar yesterday. Now, for those of you who are like, where's yesterday's webinar? The Wednesday webinars are always for members only. So only people who are members of Forex Mastermind can attend live, or Price Action Mastery, like the people here talking. So we entered it, and only they get to see the recording of that webinar. What we do is Tuesdays public, Wednesdays members only, Thursdays public. So Wednesday's webinar is when we entered this one. Not sure who got in with me from the chat room, but this was actually posted to the forum before I even got in it, by Andrew, and a few people got in this one. Stan, Michael, Shujor, he took profit. Is Andrew out? I'm trying to figure out what was Andrew's original target. 1, 2. No, Andrew's target. Andrew is the original guy who posted the trade. His target was up here at 1.1285. So he's not out yet. I'm out. I know my target seems tight, but it's just because of the late entry. Had I got a better entry, so had I been able to get a better entry, which I probably would have got if I was just patient, and if I was patient, I would have waited a little bit longer, and I would have got a better entry because it did pull back. But, you know, it's easy to say that after the fact. It's hard to say that when the trade's starting to take off. It looked like we were getting a big push by buyers, and I didn't want to risk missing the trade. So if I had an entry here, I would have had a risk to reward ratio around about 2, which would have been better. But I got in with a market order up here. Oh, you got an even later. No, you didn't. My bad. You got in all the way. You had an awesome entry. Are you out, Catherine? You said in that one, so you're still in. Your entry is really good. Jealous of that entry. What? All right, I see you made a small mistake with so yeah, that's your entry. Wow. So you're up at 2R right now. Well, no, not right now. Right now it's here. So you're at about 1.78R right now. See, this is the thing with entries. They make such a big difference. So you've made as much profit. You're currently sitting at more profit on this trade than I've made, percentage-wise, or RR-wise. You've made more profit on this trade than I have. Just floating profit right now. So if you were to exit now, you will have done better on this trade than I have, just because your entry was a tiny little 6.8 pips lower than mine. So that 6.8 pips lower entry makes such a big difference towards the end of the trade, where your floating right now is so much better than mine. 1.83 right now. Not bad. Cool. Ollie, you entered too. I'm just going to call you Ollie because I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm sorry. Jan, you're in. All right. So looks like a lot of you are still in. Yeah, I closed out because I set my target there and I just kept it there. There was obviously opportunity to extend this target because it was moving really well, but I just decided to keep that target. Yeah, your stop loss could definitely be wider on this one. It could be down here. So that's not necessarily a bad stop loss. I just got in kind of late, so I had a tighter stop loss. But if I got in earlier, I probably would have had a wider stop loss, maybe. Anyway, let's look at actual trades, guys. We've spent too much time talking about open trades. Let's look at some new potentials. First, we'll go through the list of potentials from yesterday, see how they're playing out, see if they've developed at all. We're looking for a potential short here on AUDCAD. We're looking for a continuation. That's not really doing much. It's not doing what I wanted it to do. If you drop down to the 6 hour or maybe even the 4 hour, these lower time frames, we can see that it did pop down, shoot up, and then, well, it hasn't continued down, but it could continue down from here. But I just haven't liked this setup. I haven't seen anything that I've liked here. So I'm just going to keep an eye on this and see how it develops. Ideal situation really would be for price to move a bit lower and then come back. Whenever it stays this close to the support area, you're never truly sure if it's broken support or if it's just still stuck in support. EURJPY, we're just looking for this. We've been looking for this since last week, and it's just not happening. We're looking for this range to, we just want to see price hit the bottom of this range. That way we can go long. And yeah, it's just not happening yet. It just got close to the bottom and started sloping up slightly, but I guess overall it's a sideways move. Dipped down so far today. It'd be great if this drops to the bottom of the range because I'm really interested in taking a long from the bottom here. So we're going to keep an eye on that still. CADJPY, we're just looking for a potential long trade here. We're looking for price to go up, hit it, and then continue. But it's happened on the 4 hour. So you could be long here on the 4 hour. But I've not entered on the 4 hour. As you guys know, I do prefer the higher time frames. They're just way more reliable than the low time frames. A lot of false setups on the small time frames. Small time frame trading is still profitable overall. It's just you're going to take more losses because of the false setups. And psychologically, for some traders, taking a lot of losses just screws with your head. I don't really like taking a lot of losses, so I'm less susceptible, let's say, to a lot of traders from losses. I don't care about them as much, but when it starts to stack up and I see my win rate dropping, I just prefer to have a higher win rate. It's just a psychological thing for me. So I tend to go towards the higher time frames more than the lower. So I haven't entered this 4 hour chart trade, but it's a valid trade. It's a valid long trade. So CADJPY has hit the bottom here and is looks like it could be continuing up. Doesn't look that great on the daily, but on the other time frames, the lower time frames, it looks good. Is anyone in on this? SPX USD, I had the exact same idea, but this one again happened on the 4 hour, so I didn't enter it. And I've missed what looks like a pretty good opportunity so far. It has shot up. It looks like it's going to continue up today. So it's the same kind of setup. We've got a nice strong bullish trend. So we're just trading in the direction of the trend. Price goes here, boom, hits support, continues up. It was valid on the 4 hour, the 6 hour. Is anyone in this one? I know a lot of people don't trade CFDs, so you might not be. USDJPY, there was a short opportunity here that I shared in Monday's analysis, I believe. Did I share that in Monday's analysis? I think I did. Mark this screen. I'm not sure who entered this one, if anyone entered this one. I don't think I saw it posted to the forum, but it obviously was a good setup. Worked out quite well. GBP CAD, we were looking for a short continuation. This one didn't really happen at all. I'm gonna unmark this one. USD SGD, USD NOK first. Another short trade I shared, which has worked out really well. This is not me bragging, guys. I've shared some pretty crappy trades over the last 2 weeks. This week I've shared some really amazing trades, but you know, just to be 100% clear and honest, it's been 2 kind of average to crappy weeks, and now it's a really good week. And this is just the reality of trading, guys. You're not going to be on the ball. You're not going to be on fire every single week. There are going to be some weeks where you're just not doing well. So the last 2 weeks were not great. This week is doing really, really well. And then I think the week 3 weeks ago was a really, really good week. So, you know, there's ups and downs in trading. Anyone who tells you they're up all the time is lying to you. So yeah, this isn't me bragging when I say I shared a really good trade. It's just the reality. I shared these trades live on Tuesday. I said before they triggered, I said, this is a setup, this is a setup. And I'm not always right, but yeah, this week I got a lot of good ones. But I know a lot of people don't trade USD NOK and USD SGD, and it's a real shame because you do get good spreads on USD NOK. It's this is the Norwegian krone. You do get good spreads on it, and it's a really easy pair to trade. It's really predictable. It's more predictable, I would say, than these days, especially than GBP USD or Euro USD, because there's just too much going on in Europe and specifically in Britain, but it's also affecting Europe. What's the spread though in relation to the amount you would make on this, right? What I mean by that is what's the spread in relation to how much this pair moves? Because when you look at the spread as a number, it can be misleading. Because then all you need to do is lower the amount, like you lower the, you just need to use a position size calculator, essentially. Figure out what your position size is. I guess the downside of this is it might not be accessible to everyone. Yeah, that spread's not bad in relation to how much it moves. It's not bad, right? So you can see this 465 pips stop loss, 769 pip target. So in relation to that, the spread's not that bad. But it also depends on your broker a lot. One sec. Where is... So I'm just opening one of my broker platforms. Well, I don't know why. You can just see it here. Spread with this broker is pretty good. That's about 9 pips, right? Am I doing the math wrong? Yeah, it's 9 to 10 pips. That's less than half of what your broker is charging. But this broker only accepts large accounts. So there are, I don't know what you'd call it, like a high level broker. They only deal with traders that have a minimum of 10,000 or 25,000 for their premium account. That being said, they did tell me that I can get, if I introduce students to them, my students to them, they'll let them in for way less than that. I'm not going to do that until I've tested them thoroughly, though. So we'll just see how that goes. But they look like a good broker so far. You guys should check them out. Scandinavian Capital Markets. This is not a paid ad, by the way. I'm just honestly trying them out. They look really good. They're regulated in Sweden, which is part of the EU, but in a way it's not part of the EU. I'm not going to get into what Sweden is exactly, but let's just say it's kind of halfway in, halfway out of the EU, just to make things simple. So they don't have to follow those regulations put in on the EU, the ESMA regulations, which doesn't affect me too much, but I know that a lot of you guys don't like those regulations. So if you were to trade with Scandinavian Capital Markets, you could still get 100-to-1 leverage, but again, they only accept higher level traders. So I think the minimum is 25,000, but they told me that I can get people in for way smaller accounts than that. I think it was something like 2,000, 3,000, they said. But do not rush to sign up. I'm going to test them out, see how they perform. So far, they've been pretty solid, and then I'll let you guys know. Yeah, but it's not only, by the way, Scandinavian Capital Markets that does this. Like Catherine pointed out, Pepperstone has good spreads on USD NOK. If you want to see what brokers, because a lot of trading these days to get the best rates on your trades, you need to have multiple broker accounts. So Scandinavian Capital Markets, they're missing a lot of pairs that I trade. They don't do CFDs. So if I want to trade SPX USD, like here, I can't trade that through Scandinavian Capital Markets. So yeah, I'm going to get good spreads on USD SEC, USD NOK. I'm going to get great execution speed, but CFDs, nope, can't do that. So you need another broker for CFDs. So these days, it's just, there's no broker that I found that brings it all together is a good overall broker. There's always something missing, sadly. So one thing you can do is go to this MyFX book spreads thingy and filter out your spreads here. So let's get, I'm just going to remove some to make the list easier to read. And then we're going to add USD NOK in. And then we'll see the most competitive USD NOK spreads is a broker called Just to Trade. Now this is the most competitive based on what is listed here. So Scandinavian Capital Markets isn't listed here. And I don't know if this Just to Trade broker is any good. I'm just... Alright, it doesn't open. Security Investors Protection Corporation. I don't know what that is. FINRA. Oh, so they're regulated in the US. Okay, why don't they just say that? I mean, a US regulated broker, I guess just to trade seems legit. I mean, this is just a cursory glance at it. I'm not going to say 100% that they're a good broker. I got no idea. But they seem to be regulated, so that's a good start. So yeah, this is the best way to just figure out spreads. It doesn't have every broker listed, but it has a lot. Dar1X is a good broker. These guys, I've spoken to the owner of Dar1X quite a few times. Solid guy, good broker. They do things a bit differently to other brokers, but yeah, they're good brokers. So they have competitive spreads on USD NOK. Anyway, I highly recommend trading this pair. You might need to sign up to a different broker in order to trade it if you want to get better spreads. But it's totally worth trading. As you can see, this trade has worked out super well, and it was a really obvious trade, and there's a lot of really obvious trades that just work out really well with this pair. It's an amazing pair to trade. Highly recommend it. So is USD SGD, so Singaporean dollar, less so, but it is still pretty good. So yeah, I highly recommend this one too. Anyway, let's look if there's anything new in terms of setups. Oh, right. I didn't have this support area here yesterday. So this looks like a successful trade, but I didn't have this support area marked. So unfortunately, this trade was not entered. I added the support area after the fact. Oh, Bitcoin's tanked again. So volatile. GBP has hit the bottom here, but I just don't like this. We looked at it yesterday. I'm just not confident with that. Nah. Yeah. Yeah, I still say it's probably time to call this one. Not going to do anything with that. USDCAD, somewhat interesting. It's hitting the bottom here. I'm going to mark this one and we'll keep an eye on it. What I really want to see with USDCAD would be a break of this support area, pullback, and then a short continuation. That'd be interesting to see. So let's see if it does break this support area. Swedish krone, or krona, I always forget. This one, I'm just not as confident as I am with the NOK. I'm still learning how this pair moves, so we'll just leave that one to the side for now. US oil, this is just something I'm testing out, but my performance on US oil has been horrible, so I haven't really been doing well on that. We got some gold and silver, but nothing much happening there, and then some platinum, nothing much happening there. So yeah, let's do a kind of wrap up, and we'll talk about the setups we're looking at today. So potential short from here on AUDCAD. It's not looking great right now. Ideally, we'd see a drop lower, to be honest, and then a pullback. EURJPY, we're just waiting for price to hit the bottom of this range still. CADJPY, it's already, yeah, I guess this is already triggered on the 4 and 6 hour. So it's already triggered, but you know, I would prefer to see this go down here on the daily, stall out, and then go long. That's what I would prefer. SPX USD, again, I guess this one's already triggered, so I'm just going to mark this one green as I shared this trade and it's triggered. I didn't enter because it was on the lower time frames, but this one's unlikely to head back down. So, and then USDCAD, we're waiting for it to break through support. So there's not really that much new stuff happening today overall. There's a lot of stuff I shared earlier in the week, but not a lot of brand new stuff today. So I guess that wraps it up for the analysis, guys. Is there any questions? Well, I'll wait for questions. I'm just deleting or closing browser tabs. There's so much open. All right, it doesn't look like there's any questions. So in that case, I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you very much for attending, guys, and I'll see you for Tuesday's webinar. But of course, to all members, I'll see you on the forum beforehand. Yeah, thanks, and see you guys later.